Guidance counselor, school teacher brought me out of class one day, sat me in the guidance counselor's office, said, Darren, based on your academic marks, you may not graduate from grade 12. If you don't graduate, what are you going to do? And I said, I want to travel the world. I want to build companies. I want to make a lot of money, have a lot of fun, and make a big difference in the world, because ultimately our success is someone else's miracle in life. And I want to be a contribution.
Welcome to the Jennifer J. Hammond Podcast. Jennifer is a licensed realtor, educator, speaker, and best-selling author. Jennifer's goal is to help you find your yay in every day.
Hello. This is Jennifer J. Hammond. And I'm so excited. I have Sir Darren Jacqueline here today. Welcome to my podcast.
I'm grateful to be here and make a difference.
Well, I'm excited because you always make a difference wherever you go. You bring smiles, but you really have changed. I want to say you've changed the world. And so today I actually brought the world. I brought the world.
I love it.
So that we can talk about, you literally have actually trained people all over the world, right?
Yes, I have. Yes, absolutely.
So I want you to talk a little bit about your story instead of going through I hate reading a whole biography, but I wanted you to share, and you're such a great storyteller. Talk about going around the world and all the different people you trained. And I'm going to also put in there in that request is your why. Why is this so important to you?
Oh, good question. Absolutely. So maybe I'll just give some context in regards to quick I'll do the backstory, the come up story, kind of the success story that will lead into and tie this all into global travel. So I grew up in a middle-income family. Swift Current, Saskatchewan, Canada is where I was raised, a city of population of less than 20,000 people. Failed grade 1 of public school and was misdiagnosed with a learning disability and a reading disability. So the school system decided to put me into what we call special education or special ed. So in grade 1 all the way through to grade 12 of public school, I was in special education my whole entire school life. So at age 5, I was in grade 1, failed grade 1. So age 7, I created my first little entrepreneurial business called Rent a Kid. And I go out and cut grass, shovel snow, and deliver newspapers 6 days a week. And by 9 years of age, I hired my 2 best friends, which today, 40 plus years later, we're still great friends. We talk a few times a year. We follow each other on social media channels. And then throughout junior high and high school, I failed my way academically through school. Got to grade 11, and guidance counselor, school teacher brought me out of class one day, sat me in the guidance counselor's office, said, Darren, based on your academic marks, you may not graduate from grade 12. If you don't graduate, what are you going to do? And I said, I want to travel the world. I want to build companies. I want to make a lot of money, have a lot of fun, and make a big difference in the world, because ultimately our success is someone else's miracle in life. And I want to be a contribution. And they both looked at each other as the guidance counselor and the school teacher said, Darren, you're never going to go to college, never go to university. You're not going to get an academic degree. You're not going to amount to much in life. And to me, I was never the smart kid in school. I just hired the smart kids in school. That's what I always did. I always surrounded myself with people in terms of teams and advisory boards and masterminds and advisory teams of people. And so I graduated from high school barely as a D student. Then I did multiple suicide attempts to end my life by driving my car 85 miles an hour, 140 kilometers an hour towards a telephone pole. And my final attempt, I stopped the car and I said, I can't do this. So I drove to a 24-hour telephone crisis line center, rang their door buzzer, and I turned myself in to get professional guidance, counselor, and help. And so then in the 1990s, here I am struggling financially. I'm struggling with my self-confidence, my direction, my focus, my purpose as a man in my life. What's my why? And one of these guidance counselors from the 24-hour crisis line, she introduced me to the Dale Carnegie training program back in the early 1990s. So I went to a 12-week Dale Carnegie training program. In that program, I met a lady who introduced me to Toastmasters International, which is the largest public speaking leadership organization globally in many countries and continents around the planet. And that started to change my environment, which then it started to change my thinking, my mindset, and everything. Then I started to write down goals. And today I have over 7,000 written documented goals. My target is to have 10,000 written goals. And it's a struggle because every time I'm achieving goals, I'm also checking off goals. And something I learned that I wrote in my book, Until I Become, is that most of our goals and dreams do not require our actions. When people think about that, they digest that thought, is that most of our goals and dreams don't require actions. It's all about creating teams and teamwork. And so I had a desire to travel the world. And so for me, early on, there was two big obstacles in my life. Number one was time. I didn't have enough time, and I didn't have any money. So time and money were my two biggest obstacles I had to overcome. So I started to write down in my journal affirmations. And I started to say to myself, I, Darren Jacqueline, get paid handsomely to travel the world and do what I love and love what I do. I, Darren Jacqueline, get paid handsomely to travel the world and do what I love and love what I do. And I wrote down 50 countries around the world that I wanted to travel to and I wanted to get paid to travel to. And today I've traveled to 50 countries on 4 continents, and I've been trained and been paid, I should say, to travel all those countries. So the key thing is a lot of times people say, well, how do I save up money or save up air mile points to travel? The quality of your life is determined by the quality of the questions that you ask yourself. So if you go to Google and you do a Google search on why am I stupid, and you hit search, up will come reasons why you're stupid as a human being. If you type in why am I smarter, or why am I a genius as a human being, and hit search on Google, up will come reasons why you're smarter, why you're a genius. So the quality of our life is determined by the quality of the questions we ask ourselves. So I just started to change my mindset by asking different qualifying questions. How do I get paid to travel the world and do I love and love what I do? Because if you want to make more money in the world today, all you do is you solve problems. The bigger the problems, the bigger the challenge you solve, the more money you get paid as a fair means of exchange. So a lot of times so I met a couple a few years ago, and they met on an internet dating website. And their dream was that they wanted to travel the world and dance on cruise ships all over the world. I said, great. How can you go to a cruise line, a major cruise line in Miami, Florida, USA, and have a conversation with them? Because as human beings, all we are is a network of conversations. How can you have a conversation, enroll them into the possibilities of what you want to do? And today, up until COVID-19, they were traveling the world 6 months a year, dancing on cruise ships, teaching dance lessons, and being paid for it, and having all expenses paid, and having the time of their lives. So you can do extraordinary things just by writing things down to get clarity, because when you write it down on paper, you have a higher chance of believing it, right? Because if it hasn't been written, it hasn't been said. That's what they say in the court of law with the legal industry. But the thing is that decide where you want to go. And for most people, if we walk down any street in any major city around the world, and you ask people this number one specific question, what is it you really, really, really want in your life? The number one consistent answer, Jennifer, is people say, I don't know. They don't have clarity of focus of what they really want in their lives. And so I'm very clear with over 7,000 written goals in my master plan for my life, what I want. And that's why I'm blessed in my life to achieve a lot of things, because number one, most of my goals and dreams don't require my actions. I've got teams around me. And when I started, I was flat broke financially. I had no money. So I got interns from colleges and universities, and I got high school students to volunteer their time as work experience and work apprenticeships to come with me, to be part of my team. That's how I started, right? So there's all kinds of creative ways that you can do things without having any money to get started, to go forward in your goals and dreams of what you want to acquire and what you want to achieve. I just came back just a couple of days ago. I was in Tanzania, East Africa. I just went and summited Mount Kilimanjaro, 19,340 feet in elevation, 5,895 meters, one of the highest mountains in the world. It's the highest mountain peak in the African continent, called the Rooftop of Africa. Now, if you would have asked me 2 years ago, would I ever climb Mount Kilimanjaro? I would have said, absolutely not. I'm not that guy. I don't have that DNA. But I started to train, develop. I took a year of training. I put a structure into my calendar. I made it non-negotiable, and I had weekly accountabilities and daily accountabilities. And I made it happen, and I summited Mount Kilimanjaro successfully.
Wow, that's extraordinary. I mean, thank you so much for sharing your childhood as well, because I think so often when someone sees how successful you are, they think, oh, you just got it handed to you and your parents were wealthy, you're a trust fund baby. And they don't realize all the struggles and all the things that you had to decide you were going to overcome, and then do it, and then overcome it. And I love your list of goals. Thank you for sharing that, because
my pleasure.
So often people forget. You could do it right now. It's something you could do right Absolutely. This minute, if you're listening, is write your goals.
Well, what's interesting is that I always share with people, we do not have money problems in life, only thinking problems. And I just share with people authentically, I was once homeless, living on the streets, eating my next meal out of a garbage dumpster for a period of time. I was also on welfare for a period of time. I also had my car repossessed, and I'm a Canadian here. I live in Vancouver, Canada. I used to have an R9 credit rating. So people who understand the financial industry or banking industry in Canada, the United States, are who know of Equifax or TransUnion Credit, an R9 credit score is the worst possible credit score that you can get. It's a high risk credit score. And I used to have an R9 credit rating. I used to have incredibly poor credit. I used to be behind on my bills. I used to have collections and creditors calling me, even making phone calls and house calls to my house. I was a financial disaster in my 20s and 30s. And in my 40s, I got my money right. And I became financially independent. Now in my 50s, I'm building massive wealth to give it away to our foundation for global philanthropy. And I've committed $100 million over the next 10 years towards global philanthropy projects. So you once a disaster now became a master. And I was a disaster in my finances. And what the biggest thing was, I had no integrity. And that's one thing was, I realized that my word creates my world. And so I didn't have any integrity. Then I realized that I had selective integrity. And I got called out and I got confronted by some mentors in my life, realizing that without integrity, nothing works. And I was a financial disaster with a lot of broken promises and a lot of overpromising and under-committing when it came to finances. And that's what was a big thing for me with regards to that. And once I started to change that, I got my money right over a period of time, things changed drastically in my life. So whenever there's something that's not working in your life, look at where are you out of integrity.
You know, I love that. Thank you for saying that. I mean, I wanted to go back to one thing you said that I thought was so important is that you say you don't have a money problem, you have a thinking problem.
Yes.
Wow. That, I mean, you go, and also I get so excited. I go so fast. I love that you go so fast, but I want to stop just for a minute because wherever you are listening to this, no matter how bad, I mean, you just heard Darren talk about possibly trying to take your own life. And I think that even when you look at how low you went and how awful, you know, you've experienced these lows, but you've also experienced right now these amazing highs. But again, it still goes back to the thinking part of it. It's not that somebody, you know, you all of a sudden hit the lottery and you became wealthy because it started with the stinking thinking, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. You know, and I got so down and out, you know, pain and pleasure that I remember being 38 years of age. I'm 51 now. And I remember being 38 years of age and looking at myself one day in the mirror and saying, I'm so sick and tired of this. I'm so sick and tired of being up and down. I'm sick and tired of hiding from people. I'm sick and tired of letting things go to a voicemail or an answering service because I'm too embarrassed to answer the phone and deal with the confrontation of somebody upset with me of another broken promise. And that was a big defining moment in my life when I realized, you know what, I keep running, but wherever I go, I take myself with me. And so I can't run away from myself because I'm going wherever I go. And that was a big defining moment in me, like, because I thought I could fool other people because I had a lot of BS. And I realized that I was drinking my own Kool-Aid and buying my own BS. And I realized, oh my gosh, that I'm this fake and this fraud. And that's what I felt inside myself with my confidence and how I was. And I realized that, oh my gosh, I had such a, you know, lack and scarcity mindset, but I was in such survival mode. And I didn't come from abundance and prosperity. I came from lack and scarcity. And I had to understand that I had to get rid of some of my values and my beliefs that were not serving me and working me that I inherited by growing up from my environments. And I had to do some unlearning and unpacking of that through some different training development programs, some counselors. I even hired a trauma therapist to work with me, who worked with childhood trauma. And, you know, I had a lot of pride and ego and stuff like that. And I thought, wait a second, I got to confront myself here. And so there's no embarrassment when somebody says, hey, I need some help, or I need to go see a relationship counselor, or I need to talk to them about my finances, or things aren't working well at home or in my job or my career or with my relationship. All successful, high-performing people have coaches and mentors around them in their inner circle. And that's what was a breakthrough for me.
Well, and I'm so excited that you said that. There's so many things in here that we talked about, but I did want to talk just a little bit about this amazing book that you mentioned it earlier, Until I Become. And I think, and I feel so blessed. Thank you for signing mine to me when I saw you, when I was with you. It's like, I feel like this is a little piece of your heart. And there's a couple of things in here I wanted to talk about. I'm going to probably start with the one that I love the most, which is the chapter on fun. And I think so often we overlook, even when we're in a down, where we're feeling hurt or even uncomfortable, or like you said, when you all of a sudden are drinking your own Kool-Aid and you know that you've broken promises that you're embarrassed about, or that you don't want to admit to, or you're not picking up the phone and not answering the phone because you know you've broken promises. And I think sometimes we forget that we can still create fun at any moment, no matter what's happening. So would you talk a little bit about fun?
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. You know, the key thing is children live in the present moment. And the cool thing I've learned, even under a lot of adversities and failures and pressures and stress, I'll give you a real life example. A number of years ago, I was traveling the world doing corporate training seminars. I used to travel close to 300 days a year globally for 25 years doing corporate training seminars. And I got a phone call one day from a gentleman out of New York City. His executive assistant called me, and he was all over CNN News, all over the newspapers, all over the news. His company was just front and center news media headlines for some stuff. And he was just getting blasted by the news media. And he was not a very popular chief executive officer of this company. And some people made some wrong turns in his company, and he took the accountability and responsibility for it. So his executive assistant called me and she said, we would love to hire you to come in and do some corporate training with this guy. He really respects and admires you. We need you to come to New York. You need to rearrange your schedule. We'll pay you a top fee for this. Come in. So I flew down there and I went to his corporate office in New York City. And here's a very visible, high profile CEO all over the media. You know, I see him in the front of the newspapers. He's on CNN, all the big news channels. And I go to his office, a lot of security around there because all the media were camping out there. I go up to his office in New York City, and I expected to be there for a few hours doing some one-on-one coaching or mentoring with this guy. And he looks at me and he goes, do you know how to golf? And I said, not a little bit, not really. He goes, let's go hit some golf balls. Let's get out of here. So we go down this private elevator in this office, go into this underground parking lot, get into his personal vehicle. We drive to this golfing range that he was a member of this country club at. And we go there and we're hitting golf balls. And I'm thinking to myself, man, this guy's all over the news media. He must be under incredible amounts of pressure and stress. So I started asking some questions because I'm really curious. And he said, listen, my wife's really stressed about this. My kids are stressed about this. But, later this afternoon, we're going to leave New York and we're going for 2 weeks to an all-exclusive resort in Mexico. And we're just going to go hang out there for 2 weeks and let the media just kind of everything just die out. And I said to the guy, I said, are you not going to be accountable, responsible for your actions? He goes, no, I am. But at the same time, he said, no matter what happens, Darren, in your life, you need to put yourself into an energetic vibration to always feel good. No matter what's going on in your life, no matter what you're dealing with, you need to put yourself into an energetic vibration of always feeling good. And he goes, I'm out here hitting golf balls with you right now at this golf range because it reminds me of a young kid growing up with my father and my grandfather hitting golf balls and having fun. And I thought, wow, here we could be in this guy's corporate office in downtown New York City, right, where it's just sirens and car alarms and horns and go, 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 busy business of New York. We're at this golf range where it's very quiet and very prestige and very opulent, and we're out there, and then he's going to leave. And so it was a big shift in my mindset to realize no matter what you're dealing with, what kind of pressures or stresses you're dealing with, you can always have fun. And it's how you perceive things and how you deal with things. And that guy left later that day with his wife and children, went off to Mexico and spent the next 2 weeks at an all-exclusive resort getting massages, playing with his children, building sandcastles, snorkeling and scuba diving, having fun until it all just blew over because he knew that in life there's a beginning, there's a middle, and there's an end. So everything has a beginning, a middle, and an end in life. And so the thing was, in that situation, he just knew that eventually it's just gonna blow over.
And I think what you said is so funny because in real estate, so often I have people who, I love to say, yay, and celebrate and acknowledge when things are going right. But sometimes when things are going wrong, I've often my clients are starting to really have a hard time. And I've said, so how much time would it take before this is funny? And they're like, no, it's never going to be funny, or it's blah, blah. They just start to get and I say, well, is there any way it can be like a tiny little micro yay? Is there any way we could do that? And again, just shifting that viewpoint to see how there could be just a tiny little bit of fun. It reminds me of the old movie, Mary Poppins of, in every problem, there is an element of fun, but we have to find it. And like you said, keeping yourself in that higher vibration of being able to find the fun, because sometimes you have to be able to take responsibility that you're the one that's going to create the fun, even when this does not look fun at all.
Well, I know just recently, I was just in Tanzania, East Africa, doing Mount Kilimanjaro. And here we are, summit night. It's cold. It's between -10, -15 degrees Celsius, below freezing. I've got multiple layers of merino wool on. And I'm thinking, how long is it going to take to get from base camp to summit at 19,340 feet? And I'm starting to get frustrated. I'm getting impatient. And my hiking guides are saying to me, Darren, pulley. puli puli, which means Swahili, which means slow, slow. And then they'll say Makuna Matata, which we remember from the Lion King movie, which is no problems, no worries, Makuna Matata. And what they taught me was to be focused, head down. Just notice the person in front of you that's hiking up Mount Kilimanjaro, because as if I'm in my head, I'm starting to analyze things.
Yep.
And all of a sudden the mind chatter kicks in. And then all of a sudden all these scenarios start to play out in my head. And the hiking guides got me to focus, puli puli, slow, slow, just Makuna Matata. And it was just such a powerful breakthrough in my life, realizing, wow, as soon as I get in the head, I'm in trouble, right? I start to analyze and figure things out. How much longer is this going to take? Oh my gosh, this is taking too long. I'm getting frustrated. I'm getting impatient. Just trust the process. Trust the process.
Trust the process. Thank you so much for sharing that story. That one's fantastic. And I know I wanted to also, one of my other favorites in this book, and it gets me, and I'm going to try not to cry, but one of the, I think, such a powerful thing to do is to write a letter to your younger self. So will you talk about that? I mean, I think that letter is so fantastic. Talk about that, how that felt, what that process was for you.
You know, at first it was really scary. And it was because I felt like I was being exposed. I felt like I was being naked. I put like all my cards on the table. And so when I started to write a letter to my younger self, the authenticity and the vulnerability really came out. And it was like it being seen. I'm thinking, wow, this is my authentic, true self. And so in the book, Until I Become, I talk about a younger self, write a letter to my younger self. And it was a powerful therapeutic healing process for myself. And in fact, it's hard to even describe in words, more of emotions, more feelings. But it was an incredible, enriching experience. And I've had many people from around the world, from all different walks of life, say that reading that story of your younger self in the book was so touchy, moving, and inspiring. It just really brought people to their authentic core. But I think it's very powerful that when we just slow things down in life and just look at, wow, how far I've actually become and made progress in my life. Like when we look at some of the things that we've, in life, we're either coming from a problem, we're in a problem, or we're heading towards a problem. That's right. We are as a human being. We're coming from a problem in a problem, we're heading towards a problem. And I just realized that when we look at what we've overcome personally, professionally in our lives, it's very powerful. And that letter was a defining moment in my life. In fact, I was really scared when my team came to me and said, we're creating Until I Become, we want you to put this in the book. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, do people really want to read that? And, the evidence shows today that many people are inspired by that and enrich their lives by that, by reading it, because it served a lot of people.
Absolutely. I'm so grateful that you put that in there. And I just, there's so many words, and I know we're running out of time. So I want to switch gears on you and start talking about, because one of the things I really, really wanted to talk about also is eXp Realty. What an amazing, I want to say, disruptive model that eXp has, and talk about, number one, how you got into it, but also, we want to kind of look to the future. I think it has incredible bright future, but I would love to hear your story about it.
eXp Real Estate, eXp Realty started in 2009 in Bellingham, Washington, USA. I got introduced to eXp in 2013. It was a small little residential startup company with just a couple hundred people in the company, not very big because, from 2009 to 2012, we were in a recovery with the global recession. A mutual family of Glenn Sanford, the founder, visionary, extraordinary human being, man of heart, a man of character, a man of integrity, a man of insight and vision. He's like the Wayne Gretzky of sports, like hockey. In real estate, he knows where the hockey puck is going to be before the puck is there, before the rest of the real estate industry is there. Got introduced to Glenn through a mutual family here in Canada. And they said, we'd like you to meet this guy. They were in discovery and due diligence, looking at investing when eXp was a private company before we went to the OTC or before we went to NASDAQ. And I spent several months going back and forth, punching holes in the eXp business model and plan and compensation plan to actually protect this ultra high net worth family's money if they were going to invest in the company. And after months going back and forth, they came to me and said, what do you think? And I said, based on my experience as a team member, I think it'd be great for you to invest in this company. Then they came back and said, would you be the first independent board of directors member of eXp? So there's Glenn Sanford, Jason Guesting, and myself, the three of us. We were a small little company building airplanes, we're flying it. Big hopes, big dreams, competing with the biggest real estate companies in North America. who have very deep financial pockets and brand recognition and been around for decades. And they said, you'll be out of business in 30 days, packing your bags and going nowhere fast. It's going to be a zero, not a hero of a company. But Glenn had vision and insight and integrity and heart and passion and grit. And today, you know, we're 90,000 agents in over 20 plus countries around the world, a multi-billion-dollar company. And we're the fastest growing residential real estate company right now by agent count in the world. And it's just been an incredible ride. You know, it's a virtual based company, debt-free company. And there's a lot of features and benefits it offers the licensed agents and brokers of the company and our support staff. And I've just been so grateful to be an independent board of directors member for a number of years now, and to see it grow from a startup to a multi-billion-dollar company now to be an international on many countries and continents, and seeing the many lives it's changed of the brokers and agents and support staff has just been a real blessing. Just to see how it's made a difference in their lives and their communities. It's just been an incredible ripple of impact.
Well, and I agree. And I am so incredibly blessed to be a part. And I'm watching my team grow, but also watching everyone flourish and prosper who's coming into this model, especially people who have come into from other, you know, when I say the older models for real estate agents, and really learning how to be an entrepreneur and be able to be successful and have something, you know, that is, I want to say, being able to create generational wealth, not just working on particularly just one sale. And to me, that is the best thing, is when you can also help people grow and help your team grow and flourish and prosper. And it's not just about like one person. It's truly about a win-win-win for everybody. And the technology.
Yes.
Like
and with the technology, you know, you really buy back time. You know, when you really look at agents who are traditionally going to a franchise or a bricks and mortar location, and you live in a major center across North America internationally, you don't realize the amount of time that you're spending in your vehicle commuting. Now, it's great if you're listening to podcasts or educational programs because it's a university or college on wheels or a podcast on wheels, but you're really buying back time for quality of life, because people are qualifying their time, they're protecting their time. And I've had many conversations with many agents and brokers saying, wow, this EXP real estate model has transformed my family, because it's bought back time to spend more time, precious time, with my children and my spouse or partners together that matters most in my life.
Exactly. I mean, it really is transformative in the fact that, you know, life is about living it, but it's also not about just working and working smarter rather than just all of your time being dedicated to it. So I'm so grateful for this model. And of course, as you can probably well imagine, one of my other favorite things to talk to you about, and I want you to share, is your passion. You love to give back. So will you talk about some of the charity work that you've done and how you are, talk about creating change and making a massive difference in the world?
You know, the secret to living is giving. Right? The secret to living is giving. And when I was financially broke, I didn't understand that. Man, I'm just trying to pay my bills on time and put food on the table and have food in the refrigerator. And I heard that over and over again by different people around me saying, you know, the secret to living is giving. I'm thinking, well, what do you mean? I got to get, not give. I don't have anything to give right now. I'm trying to pay my rent on time. And when I discovered that, so one of my mentors said to me, he said, Darren, listen, whenever you get a new shirt, you give a shirt away. At Christmas time or birthday times, if you get a Christmas gift or birthday gift, you give one away to Goodwill. So it's always for me the exchange of giving and receiving. So that's how I started with the secret to living is giving. When I had nothing to give, I just started with, what do I have in my home right now that I could pay it forward and pass it on and repurpose it to somebody else? So that starts the receiving process. So the cool thing is, you know, our success is someone else's miracle. Right. And so the more somebody becomes prosperous and abundant in their lives, the more they're a miracle and a blessing to other people. And so what Tatiana and I decided to do, the love of my life, is that we decided to create an international foundation in Canada, the United States of America, called Link Foundation. And we have what we call Link Leadership Academy, which is where we build schools. So we started in some of the poorest countries in the world. Right now, we're in Liberia, West Africa. We've already built a preschool to grade 6 school for about 350 children for the first time ever in their lives. They get a chance to go to school. We've also, last year, Psychology Today magazine, a magazine that's well-respected, known around the world for decades, they did a story on us in Psychology Today magazine about how Link Foundation and Link Leadership Academy is decreasing human and child sex trafficking and the potential for organ harvesting of young children that are vulnerable in third world countries. And Then over the last 2 years, because of COVID-19, I was a little bit overweight because I was traveling so much, eating airline food and hotel food and restaurant food. I realized that I was out of integrity with my health. I was treating my body like a woodshed, not like a temple. So I started hiking in Vancouver, Canada, created a hiking group with a couple other people. We got over 100 people in the group now that actively hike. And so we created what we call E2E, Elevate to Educate, which is hikingfundraiser.com. And I bring people out a couple times a year across North America. We go hiking and people pay a small registration fee. We get corporate sponsorship. People come up from all walks of life. We do a great inspiring hike for the day to enrich people's lives, have inspiring collaborative conversations. The money we collect from that then goes to Link Foundation, and we allocate that money to build a new school. So people get a chance to hike for a cause, and kind of like a Habitat for Humanity. We hike for a cause, and we hike for a cause. We come together with a common goal, and then we build a school through Link Foundation. And then through social media, we get the chance to document all that and then unfold all that in our social media channels through Link Foundation, Link Leadership Academy, and Elevate to Educate. So people get a chance to come out, they go hike for a cause. And like we had a young girl here just a few months ago came out with us. She was 14. She took her babysitting money, and she took her babysitting money, and that paid for her registration to come out for E2E to hike for the day. Now, when she's 15, 16, 17 years of age, she can put that on her resume, or when she goes in for a job interview, they can ask her some questions in the job interview. She says, I'm part of Link Foundation as a volunteer, and I support Elevate to Educate E2E, and I help build schools over in some of the most impoverished countries in the world. So everybody wins, but it's a way to inspire and enrich people's lives and make a difference. So it doesn't matter where you're at in life right now in this moment in time, everything counts in terms of making a ripple of impact and making a difference. And so we like to bring people out into nature and be out in nature and connect and be grounded and de-stress. At the same time, support Link Foundation, Link Leadership Academy, and building new schools. So our goal is to build 100 schools in the next decade across the African continent, because Africa is an emerging marketplace. See, if we look at North America and parts of Europe, we have an aging population of baby boomers, but India and Africa, if you look at those two continents, they have a young explosion of young men and women. So the next decade, as technology and internet expands, those two will be emerging marketplaces, India and Africa. So guess what? We're united today as a global village with technology, and all we are is a network of conversations of human beings. So why not enrich, inspire, and empower other people's lives to make a difference?
Exactly. And that's what you're doing. And that is why it is so absolutely fantastic, because again, you haven't let anything stop you. It is always a problem to be solved. And to me, the thing I love about you is your enthusiasm. It's like a puzzle. And it's like, oh, well, I'm just going to figure out the puzzle pieces. Okay, they don't fit. So let's try some other ones. Let's keep trying. And so we're really helping people and connecting people with those conversations that will make the world a better place. So I am so incredibly, one thing I forgot to ask you. So you are actually, I know we talked about your book, but you are also a sir. Would you talk just a tiny bit about, your knighting ceremony?
You know, I've traveled a lot of the world, and I've been to a lot of charity events and fundraising events across North America and internationally. And you meet a lot of celebrities and influential people from all different walks of life and industries. So over the last decade, I've met people who've been knighted by different royal families and become sirs or ladies or dames. And, very impressed with these people, and had some great inspiring collaborative conversations and some breakfasts, lunches, and dinners. So a couple of years ago, I received a telephone call during COVID that, hey, you've been nominated by not one, but two people to a global committee in regards to being potentially knighted, but we have to go through a due diligence and interview process and a background check. It's going to take about 4 to 6 months to go through this process. So I first of all thought in my mind, okay, how much is this going to cost? It's one of those pay to play kind of things that you want to speak on stage with Sir Richard Branson. Well, it's going to cost you $50,000 US. So I thought, okay, great. What's the catch, right? What's the hook? And they go, no, you've been nominated. I'm like, okay, what do I need to do? And they go, well, you have to submit your passport, your driver's license, date of birth, references. We're going to do a social media audit on you, go back on you. We're going to, really do a deep dive of due diligence on you. So there's 8 different categories. I got chosen in the areas of philanthropy and entrepreneurship. And so there's over 400 people in the world that were nominated at the time. And of those 400 plus people globally, all over the world in different cities and countries, they chose 24 people out of the 400 plus people shortlisted. And out of the 24 people, there was 15 men and 9 women that were chosen throughout the world. And I was one of 2 Canadians and one of a few North Americans, and the rest were international. And so I got a chance to be knighted by the royal family of Spain. to become Sir Darren Jacqueline. And so when I got knighted, and people can research it online, they can see that it's about 3.5 minutes. They can see me with the sword and getting knighted by His Royal Highness. I wasn't going to tell anybody. I was just going to keep it really quiet because I grew up really humble and I like to be low profile but high impact in my life. And people are like, no, that would be a disservice to humanity if you didn't put Sir Darren Jacqueline on all your social media channels and out there publicly, because it would inspire other people. Because I in my life, I'd never met some of these people like a Sirs before, up until I went to a bunch of charity events and fundraising events. So it's really created a ripple of impact now. And I know people now are putting on their vision boards and they're visualizing it and they're doing affirmations. They're like, I'd love to be a Sir in 20 or 30 years. So, but it was funny because back in 2011, I actually wrote down on a United Airlines flight one day, I said, I was scenario planning. What if, I was just speculating, what if, I won the lottery? What if I did this? What if I did this? All these what ifs. I was just scenario planning. And I said, what if I became like a Sir Richard Branson? I became a Sir Darren Jacqueline back in 2011. And then in 2022, the year I turned 50, I got knighted to become a Sir Darren Jacqueline. So I turned 50 and I got knighted in the same period of time.
Well, and it's so fun what you said, because it's funny, I always go, I just want to kind of keep a low profile. And it's so funny, but your story is so inspirational. And you have to remember that I was just talking to someone who just graduated from college and feeling like, oh my gosh, the world is overwhelming. What am I going to do? And I said, think about it. If you went to high school right now, you could probably teach a high school person. So no matter where you are, in that, like you said, there's about to be a problem, there's a problem, then there's a solution. Wherever you are in that wonderful, interesting journey, make sure you keep sharing it, including when you get your awards. Don't just hide them.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And it makes a difference because, people are always watching, observing us. And, and I always share with people your goals and dreams, especially when you achieve something, because then you can, and then bring other people along with you. That's all I'm doing. I love putting my fingerprints on people's goals and dreams. That's like with Elevate to Educate. When people come out and they hike for a cause and they get a chance to go to the school, people are like, wow, you mean I don't have to win the lottery or get an inheritance or make tens of millions of dollars? No, you can be working minimum wage job or be unemployed and come out hiking for a cause and still have a chance to be part of something that's making a global impact by building a school for the next generation. So because we're all pieces of the life puzzle to come together to make a difference in the world for humanity.
Absolutely. Well, go ahead. Please tell people, where can they get your book? Where can they find out more about your charity? What website, social media? What do you have?
People on Amazon, you can go to Amazon.com, Amazon.ca. You can type it in. It comes right from Amazon. You'll have it in a couple of days. Or you can go to untilibecome.com, untilibecome.com. You can always Google my name, Darren Jacqueline. And and you can see lots. So just go to Amazon, go to untilibecome.com, or just Google Darren Jacqueline. You'll find me on all the social media channels. You can follow me. We post a lot of great, inspiring content to really serve humanity. And we're always giving out invitations as well for you to come play with us and come have fun with us. And I just ask that you just be a yes for your life and just say yes, show up, take that leap of faith and trust the process, because we're giving you an opportunity to have a seat at the table, because you never know when someone gives you an opportunity to have a seat at the table, who's going to sit around you and join you in that conversation, because all we are is a network of conversations. And, our lives transform and change through having conversations with people, because if you want what you really, really want in your life, it's going to come from having conversations with people you haven't met yet, which are strangers.
I agree. And thank you so much. I'm so excited. Every conversation I've had with you always leaves me better. And I'm so grateful. Thank you for coming on today. And thank you for all that you're doing. Oh my gosh. Thank you for all that you're doing in the world. And thank you for writing this book. I know it's like an amazing experience trying to get a book out. And I know it's helping so many people. So as we go off air, I'm known for my yays. So I'm going to ask you to lift your voice with me and say yay as we go off the air. Okay?
I'll do it.
3, 2, 1.
Yeah!